KICD. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here this morning with you to launch the Association of Alumni Communities in Kenya. But let me start first of all with a very sincere apology because I arrived here later than I was expected. We have just completed our cabinet meeting, so you can imagine how early we all woke up for cabinet, and that's why I delayed the decisions that had to be made. But I am very excited about what we are doing here this morning, and I actually want to thank you, the leaders of Future Fast, for the association we are launching this morning. Because I feel, and you can indulge me on this matter, I feel that we're in a country and in a space where we talk more than get things done. You know, we have a lot of good planners, good philosophers, and good economists on Twitter, and Facebook, and everywhere. But when it comes to getting the actual work done, there are very few people who will do anything sensible that will change someone's life. Early this year, and I want to share a very interesting experience, which a lot of people may not know in the public domain. A number of my cabinet colleagues, you know, people approach others. We all get approached by somebody. Please help me get a Form 1 place at Machakos Boys High School. I have a nephew, or I have, you know, my driver or somebody wants to go into Machakos. And I told my cabinet colleagues, I'm going to introduce a very simple rule to each one of you. I will assist you to get the Form 1 place, but on only one condition. That because you are a minister, you should pay fees for another child in that school for 4 years. Because as a minister, you can spare a little bit of your entertainment allowance and pay fees for a child who is in need. And you're not going to choose the child. You will tell me you are writing a check to Machakos Boys High School for the equivalent of 4 years school fees. Then we will assist you to get a place for your driver's son. So you get a place, but you also contribute something to that school. And let me tell you, I'm really happy that quite a number of some of my cabinet colleagues, in fact, one of them told me, I will not pay for one child, I'll pay for 5. You know, and in that school, in recognition of the fact that God has been gracious and kind to me and blessed me, and I am here today, I'm a cabinet secretary, I can give back and support a child who is in need somewhere. It's true that we have a very solid and strong spirit of giving in our country, because so many people are willing to give back to community. Sometimes the challenge we have is that we don't have a mature infrastructural framework that manages this giving. So some people get discouraged because you see, I'm going to give money, I don't know how it's going to be used. I'm going to write a check to a school, I don't know how it is going to be used, and stuff like that. And all of us really make contributions. I think one reason why I'm very happy about what we're doing this morning is because here we are, members of society, taking responsibility. Because the challenge usually is taking responsibility, saying it is my responsibility. You could have graduated out of a school, Kaga Girls, Kapsabet Boys, and you're making your own good money as a lawyer, and you're fine, happy and dandy and going on with your life. What business do you have going back to Kapsabet Boys? What business do you have going back to Kisi High School, where I went to school? So, but what we are doing here today is about taking responsibility. And let me tell you, my friends, if we lived this way, where we take responsibility, even for our nation, we will have stronger and much better management of many of our institutions. We will develop a culture of responsibility across the board. We will manage our public assets, including schools, much more responsibly than we do. It is because of our low level of responsibility That is why sometimes we don't manage even the assets that God has bestowed us with responsibly. Because you think it doesn't matter. It's not mine. It's supposed to be someone else's. You know, one of the things that have destroyed our country and is related to our underdevelopment in certain respects is this culture of individual irresponsibility, which translates into collective irresponsibility. There's something called GOK, Mali ya Umma. I give people a very simple example. You have a child in school in the US or in the UK. You don't want to make a call to them. You wait until tomorrow morning, you go and make a call to them from the office because you are not paying the bill. Someone else is paying the bill. And you can actually call your child in the US and talk about cows and sheep and goats and everything else on someone else's bill because you know you are not going to pay that bill. But you see, you are foolish because you think you are not going to pay the bill individually. But you pay the bill anyway because you are a taxpayer. That's part of your money that you're misusing. So if we all took up our citizenship responsibility and worked this way, we would build stronger and better schools. The schools are ours. They do not belong to the government. They do not belong to anybody. All public schools are ours together, collectively. It's our responsibility. And that's why I am happy about the launch of this Association of Alumni Communities in Kenya. We are taking responsibility, which is very important. The second reason why I am very happy and I want to encourage you is because slowly but surely we are bringing civic engagement in the management of schools in the country. For a long time, the management of schools has been an affair that is confined to the few of us who have structural and institutional responsibility. I am the Minister for Education, the PS, the Director General, the County Director of Education, the Chairman of the Board of Management, and the Principal of the school, then the PTA. And in that group of people, in most cases, we'll be fortunate to have people who are patriotic enough not to mismanage the institution, but sometimes we get people who could collude and mismanage the institution, or actually, who don't have good ideas. They could do with more ideas from some people. They could do with more ideas from those of us who are circulating around, moving around. So in us taking responsibility and being involved in our institutions, we are bringing in the civic perspective, which will enhance accountability, which will enhance, of course, transparency, which, and for me, is most important, will enhance the space for dialogue and conversation on how we are going to manage our institutions. I'm happy that this is happening because we are now beginning to bring in civic awareness. The third reason why I'm happy is that many of you are active people. You know, the tragedy of this life, and please allow me to be a little bit liberal with my examples. The tragedy of our society is that a lot of people waste their active time, their active years. Waste it in the sense that they engage in things that are unproductive. And they waste their time on all manner of things, useless things, forming, tribal organizations, insulting people around, howling around, very unhelpful things. Then when they are old and tired, they are in their 60s and so on, then they start crawling around now, demanding responsibility and demanding a place. Saying, we are also here. Don't think we are old. We have something to contribute. In a community of active, strong people like yourselves. So I am happy that many of us in the room are in our active years. Wakati ni huu wa kufanya kazi, so that we go to our schools where we went and engage with our principals, engage with our boards of management, ask the relevant questions, and seek answers for some of the challenges we face, and build it together. friends, all those great countries we admire and those great institutions we talk about were built by a patriotic people who made the necessary sacrifices to build them. Things just don't happen. People have to make sacrifices and build them. Great schools are going to be built by all of us. Great environments are going to be worked on by all of us. Not by some strange individual who's somewhere, we are waiting for somewhere. As President Obama would say, we are the ones we have been waiting for. It is us who are going to do this thing. So I'm grateful that we are having this conversation. And I want to encourage you to continue pushing for greater involvement, pushing for greater accountability, asking questions. It is our responsibility as public servants to answer your questions. When you're asking us questions, you are not being rude or you are not being unfair. You're doing the right thing. And it's our responsibilities to answer the questions. Because we have been given these positions and these responsibilities so that we can serve you, can serve the people, as it were. And now as we go forward, a request I want to make to you as you work with your institutions is, what our education sector has missed for a long time is what I may call responsible engagement. Let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, if you reflect on the last 10 to 15 years, some of the things we have done to destroy our education sector ourselves, forget about all these mambo tumekuwa tukifanya huko, tunaiba mtihani, tunafanya nini, we manipulate things and so on. In addition to that, we created a certain culture of irresponsibility where we spend very little time to talk about the things that matter in an education system. So that either we are quarreling with the unions on bread and butter issues, and that is the only news about the sector of education. Throughout, hiyo tu, hiyo hakuna kitu ingine. I finish a meeting like this, my friend Oma Wanzala who sits behind there is chasing me around to find a comment on what someone else said yesterday or the other day. Not asking the fundamental questions. For example, what people are asking about education systems around the world. Learning outcomes. Is learning and teaching going on in our schools? Are we getting quality graduates from our institutions? What can we do to enhance the learning environment in our schools? What can we do to give our teachers better tools to deliver content to our children? When reports come out, whether it's by the World Bank or UNESCO or anybody else, and they tell us teacher absenteeism is a problem, we find out, we go and sit down with our brothers and sisters in the teaching profession, and we discuss it. Not shouting at each other, we discuss it. We say, hey, you guys, why don't you like going to school? Can we have a discussion? Can we find a way of moving this forward? Responsible engagement, that is what we have missed. So we spend time, that kind of shouting. We have developed a culture in this country that is very interesting, where everyone believes they are right, and the other's opinion is irrelevant. Instead of actually saying, look, this country belongs to all of us. You have a point. What were you saying? Then you make your point. Tell you, no, in my view, this is what I think we should do. Then we look for common ground. Because our interest is one, we are driving our children forward, we are moving our education sector forward. That's what we have been missing for a long time. If we had that consistent dialogue, where we are engaged one with another, as true brothers and sisters who have an important responsibility ahead of us, we'll do well. So, by the grace of God, we've covered a lot of ground. We've come a long way. Completed so many things. Signed a CBA, collective bargaining agreement with the teachers. Teachers have signed performance contracts. And I've said several times before, we are ready. The government is ready. My colleagues at the Teacher Service Commission, we now have an operationally autonomous institution called Teacher Service Commission. They are finalized. They are ready to start paying the CBA as agreed from 1st of July. There is no issue. We are ready to proceed. And I can see very responsible discussion is going on, where the leaders of the union are telling TSC, okay, can you pay us in one installment or two installment or whatever? That is how responsible people behave. I would like to urge all of us that for the sake of our children, that time has now come for us now to move forward as a people who will only argue on the issues that affect the quality of our education, the learning outcomes, and what we are going to do with our children. So that we always must convince ourselves that there is no issue that is too big for us to resolve when we speak one to another. And my colleagues, Joyce and company, this is what I see happening here today. Launching this association is in that belief, civic engagement and strengthening the issue of participation. You want to be involved. You don't want to be a commentator. You know, there's a new industry that is developing in Kenya. The industry is called political analysts. I turn on my TV in the evening, then I see some guys introducing themselves. They say, oh, in the studio is so-and-so analyst. Then I say, okay, let me listen to what they are saying. When they have said something, I ask myself, how different is that from what you would hear from a street? So what is analytical about what they are saying? They are basically bad. Because an analyst, what do you think? That is it. A guy who's an analyst is somebody who's able to look at views, on both sides and give you an objective view. People battle all manner of rumors and gossip, and they package themselves as, I'm an analyst, as it were. Anyway, this is Kenya. This is Kenya. We are all here, so we have to live with one another, so as it were. So, anyway, I am happy about what we are doing this morning. And I want to assure you, good people, the Ministry of Education supports what you are doing. And we will support this association. And Joyce and your team, let me know what else you need me to do. Either statutorily, in terms of policy, in terms of more engagement. I'm ready, willing, available, and so passionate about better management of our schools. And and your coming on board is an addition to our effort. Please come, all of us. Let's work together. That's my philosophy. Let's all work together and support our children, support our schools, make stronger schools, so that our children learn better, so that we can have better learning outcomes. We don't have time to waste. Some people have left us behind. We have already lost some time. Let us make sure because every time I sit in meetings and I look at learning outcomes in Finland, I ask myself the question, why can't we have those ones in Kenya? Because we are endowed with everything we need. God has blessed us with fantastic teachers. Some of our teachers are the best trained on the continent. Very dedicated. A huge number of our teachers are very committed people. Some of them are passionate about what they are doing. Why can't we work together? Even if you forget everything, don't forget this. There is nothing in our lives that is too big to resolve if we are determined and committed to resolve it amicably and working together one with another. Hiyo message ndio sisi Kenya imetupotelea kidogo. We lose so much time in arguments, squabbles, when people come up grandstanding on things that, because if you walk to my office and tell me, and I get information all the time, people talk to me, members of the public, some people call me, I go to have coffee in a restaurant, somebody walks up to me, says, oh, CS, it's good that I met you here. Do you know my school is called, I don't know what, blah, blah. Land was lost. I tell him, no, I can't know because I have 9,300 secondary schools in the country, but give me the fact so that I check with my colleagues in that particular area. Once they give me the fact, I call the regional coordinator or the county director, and I tell them, can you find out what's happening in this place? And let us know what is going on. I met this bishop in a restaurant, or this group of elders came to see me, or this group of practitioners came to see me. That is the way in which a civilized society operates. So I want you to know this. I am proud of you and proud of what I am seeing here today. Responsibility. People taking responsibility to develop their schools. Hiyo ndio imetushinda sasa. As I said, we have so many economists, so many smart people on Twitter. Their question needs to happen and you see the drama going on. Everyone bringing their wisdom, how wrong you are, how right the other one is, and so on. Who is useless, who is useful, and so on. All of that is good. But we have to go beyond Twitter. We have to go beyond Twitter. and do something. Go to an institution, find out there is a child who has been admitted from a family in Samburu. They cannot actually afford to pay the fees. The bursary scheme is there, but make our contribution. We have to go and find out a principal who has got issues. Then we try to see how we can help. And when you have learned in a school, you understand the challenges of that institution even better. Then you bring your ideas. When the board of management sits to discuss certain things, you contribute and say, in our view, we could have done better if we sank a borehole in this school before we bought a bus, and so on. Because because we had a challenge the other day when the Claremont report was presented. So many of the things that were coming out. A school is struggling to raise 13 million shillings to buy a Scania bus. The children in the evening walk 5 kilometers to look for water, including our girl children, our female children. Sasa wakifika hapo, if anything happens to them, now how do we? And a bus we can hire. We don't use it every day. When we need to go for drama festivals, we can hire one, and so on. In the case you don't own all your things at once. You balance yourself in your budget. Mwezi huu nitanunua shati moja. Next month, I save some money. I can buy a second pair of shoes. Then, in December, if I get a bonus, I could afford another second shirt. And that's how life goes. But you can't wake up in the morning and say you want the 13 million shillings worth of a bus, and our children are going to fetch water. Prioritization. These things, Bana, they can't be done by the ministry alone. We have to work together. And no one is better placed to help than you. When we had a challenge in some of our schools the other day, some of our national schools, I had occasion to meet with the old boys. That's my question to them usually is, where were you, Bana, when all these things are happening? Ulikuwa wapi? Don't stay away from your school. Things can happen while you are away. Be around and find out how things are going. During feasting days, be proud to go there and visit your school. I don't know why many of us, and this is my last point, it's a mischievous one though, but let me just say it. I don't know why many of us are proud about their tribes and their tribal clubs and investment clubs and not their schools. Do you guys wonder about that yourselves? Yeah, let us meet the people. Now it's reasonable people like yourselves who are thinking progressively, meeting about your schools, where I went to school and so on. Some people want to meet. Our clan is meeting. The elections are coming. The candidate from the other clan might win the election. Even if you actually live in Kitengela. And whichever clan your next MP comes from will not affect you. We are fixated with nonsense in this country. I'm telling you. Some people, we just fixated with rubbish. I mean, people, you hate Irungu. You want to say something when Irungu approaches, you say, keep quiet. Just because Irungu's surname is Irungu. And yours is something else. And yet, actually, you were in school together, you did stuff together. You people have one task which you are going to achieve for all of us. Assist us as government and those of us who are running the education sector to realize the original objectives of education in Kenya at independence in 1963. Because education was intended to enhance national integration. So when we meet as alumni of Kapsabet boys or alumni of Pangani girls, we sit there and discuss the welfare of Pangani. We don't look at our surnames. We don't worry about where we come from. We are proud that we sat in that class and we wrote the exam during Matiangi's time. So, we are the people. And and you talk about it and what that meant and so on and so forth. So these are the positive things that enhance and grow our community. So I thank you very much for doing this. I am going to instruct our Director General at the Ministry of Education, Joyce. You should know this. I will instruct our Director General at the Ministry of Education to immediately take your institution forward as part of her critical programs so that you can interface with her directly. Yeah. So that I can we can participate more meaningfully in your activities, and so that you can access the ministry directly on issues of the association. If there are any matters you want us to discuss, don't look for anybody. You will come and talk to us directly. We want to build a real good country. God has blessed us so much with a great nation, and we have this opportunity for us to build our beloved country. It's a time for us to stand up and do the right thing for our nation. Nobody's going to do it for us. Nisisi too, that we avoid the things that have taken us back. But I'm happy that now we are all moving forward with such progressive ideas as this association. So I'm going to look for my own old boys association and ask them why they are not here. Because next time you have the old boys or alumni dance, our team should also be there, and we should participate effectively. And I would like to participate in as many of your activities as possible. When you schedule activities, I would like to be there. This one I would not like to delegate. I would like to be there myself to encourage us so that we do the right thing for our institutions. There's nothing more nobler we can do than this one, pulling together, participating effectively, working together to enhance our schools and strengthening them, making our contributions as a people who love their country and who want progress in our institutions of learning. So may God bless you as you do this. With all those remarks, I have actually already declared the association launched officially. Thank you. No problem. I have no problem. Then will I go after that? Okay. Well, each one of them must have been in school, sure. They didn't just arrive at Joao. Yeah. So we need to, yeah, they didn't grow up there. Yeah, exactly, they didn't grow up at Joao. So we have to know where they grew up, whether they're involved in their school. Because that is how we lead by example. That's how. Good. Let me go to the AU meeting now. Well, talk to Flo. Anytime I agree with her, she's there. Anytime. Thank you, my dear. Then I'm here. Look. Namna gani? Very good. Tuendelee namna hii. Mambo kama haya ndio tunataka. Asante sana. Good. So, floor. Thank you, good people. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know he's left the building, but please one more time, round of applause to the CS. We can now officially call ourselves the Alumni Clan. It's a nice name, secure. But then the problem is, if we say that, then now we still have the elders who want to play kitty, nyama, pussy. There's also the pages that I think are probably going to be going around. So Wangale is going to be handing you the pledges. All you have to do is tick and also sign, so you each get a pledge that you can also do so. And as much as you can, please take a photo, put it up on social media. If you are on Twitter, it's hashtag Alumni Launch KE. It will be good for this conversation. And because we're on the ground and we're doing something about it, it would be nice for people who are also not here to be able to see. Some of them could not be able to make it. Some of them probably don't know about this. And it's interesting because we're having a conversation earlier on, and we're saying one of the most important things that even with alumni associations is information. Because we know that there's some associations who are able, for example, one of the biggest challenges is funding, right? And we gave a nice example of, let's say, it's a website where they're probably giving out grants. And the fact that someone will hold that information from other people, that's the deal breaker. So that's quite interesting. At this juncture, I'm going to call up a panel on stage, and we're going to have a conversation about the Alumni Association, associations, challenges, and also a bit of information about themselves and their background and why they're doing what they're doing. So one thing. We are going to be having a session, which is a feature on Alumni Association, and basically they'll share the alumni stories. But before I call them up on stage, I'll have to clarify if we'll begin with plenary conversation with Irongo, Anna Shinga, Dominic Mafia, narrated by Sarah Buto and Joyce Kenyanchui. So, I don't know if this, I'm used to saying DJ, where's the music? I'm really used to saying that, so I'm wondering today, I feel very kapaish. So I don't know what we're going to do with that music. So probably we'll do another round of knowing each other. I still have that grant that I'm supposed to give. You guys think it's a joke? Look at it this way. When I mean in kind, if I go with you to your former schools, do you know how much you will be respected? People will start to give you money because you don't untold. You guys don't understand. So for those who are the 89, probably the year of 89 might not know, but your kids might know. Meaning, if I go with you to your former high schools, people might embezzle, the WhatsApp groups might be more active. We'll go with this video. It will help a lot. So use me, guys, use me. I will come and join you guys. So let me clarify with that. I think let's take a moment to sign the pledges. I'll clarify which plenary conversation will begin, and then we'll continue with the program. continue to sign the pledges. We are going to begin with the first session, which is the Teachers Alumni Association. I'm going to call up the representative from Kapsabet Boys High School. Please come on stage. Kaaga Primary School, Kinyago Dandora Secondary School. We also have Karoti. And Karoti. Okay, from Kaga Primary, we have Wangari Mashoro. Please come on the stage. Call your name right here. Oh, good. Kinyago Secondary School, we have Collins Mugele. Kaga. Ina Kaga ama ni Kaga? Kaga. Yes. Here the young ones are saying Kaga. I knew I had my age mates here. I was so sure. Ina Kaga. From Kinyago Secondary School, could you please have Collins? Kapsabet Boys, you can have them. Yeah. From Kapsabet Boys, we have Aaron, CTNA, please. Round of applause for what was the issue. And from Karoti Girls, Eva. Round of applause for Eva. We have to make sure that we don't have, they're called nowadays manuals. You know what a manual is? A manual is a panel just made of men. It's called a manual. So we must have a balanced panel. Clear? Must have equal representation. We're going to make, not a bit fast, but we're going to make it a bit brief in the interest of time. And obviously the first thing we're going to do is we introduce ourselves. I'm going to start all the way from Eva there. And what association you present, and probably the school that you're most attached to, and why you're in that particular association.
My name is
Eva, please move your closer to you. Yes.
Can you hear me? You have volume.
They can hear you.
I can shout.
And technical, can we?
because sometimes as a chair lady or as officials of alumni, and part of the officials are here, if you're an official, you know that when you have projects and you're trying to get people, and you're trying to get commitment, you're trying to get funds, you're met with dead silence most of the time. And it's very hard to mobilize people, get people's attention, get people's attendance. So Future Fast has really helped in bringing our group together, and we are glad. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll jump right on to Wangari from Kagame.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. How are you doing? So my name is Wangari Njolu. I went to Gitwe Girls in Kiambu, but right now I'm not here to represent my former high school because we've just started forming the alumni. Now, the first thing we've done is create a WhatsApp group, so we are talking and having all this conversation. I'm here to represent my location in my village, which has 2 high schools, 2 public high schools, 4 primary schools, and like 3 more private primary schools which have joined us. We are called Kaga Education Association. This is a group that began in the year 2007 when education in our area had really deteriorated to an extent. That school you're referring to, Kaga Primary School, had only defeated 1 school, and that is Kamboi for the deaf. It was that bad. And so, a committee of PCA in my village got worried because children would get out of class 8 with even 70 marks, 90 marks. You know that's when Kibaki had launched free primary school. So nobody cared. Nobody thought, it was bad to put it as that. And so they came together, began the work, and it has been going on well. I came in like 3 years ago when I was once invited as a chief guest to go and speak in one of their prize giving day. And that's when I came into, or rather face-to-face with the reality on what was happening. And just to give a little story on how I came on board, when I went there as the chief guest, this being Kiambu is well known for the rich men and women, which is a narrative that I need you to cancel from today, because we suffer like all other Kenyans, despite maybe having a president, okay? And when I went there, remember these people have been working and bringing on board all stakeholders in education. And these stakeholders include the pupils, the teachers, the parents, because it was really bad. Nobody would work with anybody. You would call the parents to kind of give like 20 shillings for the children to get porridge or something. They would tell you it is free. We were told it is free. So there is nothing that was happening. Everything has stagnated. So after they came in and they started working and talking to parents, calling the teachers, bringing them into a round table and all that, the schools started improving. And they created this annual prize giving day. Now when I went there that day, it was a prize giving day for the competitive, the schools compete among themselves. I found out there were girls and boys who had heeded their voice and performed very well, but they did not have school fees to go now to high school. Remember, these are children that are motivated as stakeholders. But now, when it comes to time for them to show what they can offer, now people do not have money to take them to school. It really touched my heart, and I began there. I remember there were like 3 children that year who had been called to very good schools. I came to my Facebook page, which is very active, and I called people to come in and help. And by the grace of God that year, 3 children got full 4-year sponsorship. So from that point, I have never gone back, and I think I became the hero of the village. To an extent, I work more with schools, maybe even more than the Office of Education in that place. They call me. They have made me the BOM member of like 3 schools, which is even illegal. But none of the schools, yes, it is illegal. You're only supposed to represent 2 schools. But nobody could let me not be part of the school. Actually, I had to go to the office in Larry to confirm if what I'm doing may bring me issues later in the day. So guys, the moment you get in there, you're going to be of such help, and I think it's about time.
Cool. And move on to Aaron. Then these 2 things were just for pull up a match. It's interesting that you're saying you're doing something illegal. Even the CS has left here with all those police and you just decided to throw in the stone to the police station. Anyway, Aaron, you're next.
Good morning, everyone. Aaron Sistiana is my name. I'm the president of Alumni Customer Boys. Of course, I do belong to other alumni, which of course I don't need to mention now. The one I'm so much attached to is Customer Boys, which of course I've been the president possibly for the last 4 years. We registered alumni in 2011. Fully. But of course, the early alumni that started, the alumni was somehow registered back in 1946, but not finalized. Then in 1976, finalized, but of course not submitted. So there was some officials. And again tried in 1993, and again not finalized. So we came and finalized it. In 2011. And from 2011 to date, of course, the alumni are very active, very vibrant, and of course, as we go along, and of course, I made the various issues that of course we have achieved. For us, of course, we are proud as the alumni. Of course, the school is very old, currently 92 years old. The first student was taken in on Wednesday, 4th February 1925. That was when the admission one was admitted. So the school is very old. But of course, like all wine, Customer Boys has always improved with the years. So of course we are proud of it. Of course there are always challenges here and there, but we are managed to possibly look at how to adapt it going forward. And what has possibly assisted us is of course we have managed to always use the various social media to mobilize the groups, because we currently have an alumni of over 11,000. Yeah, and most of them are very active, most of them, and we really thank God for that. Yes, so let me stop there, and the other stories will unfold as we go forward. Thank you.
Good stuff. So, and up next we have colleagues from Kinyago.
Thank you, sir. My name is Collins Bugel. I'm from Kinyago Alumni Association. I do represent Kinyago Donora Schools. My primary school was Kinyago Primary in Dandora. I went to Dagoretti High School. But today I'm representing Kinyago. We have an alumni association, Kinyago Alumni Association. One would ask, why not Dagoretti? I do represent today Kinyago Alumni Association because of the need for us to create that wholesome character within that setup with students mostly from that community. My high school, of course, had representation from all over the country, but my primary school had representation from to be part of the community and making a difference within that community. So our alumni was registered in 2010 as Kinyago Alumni Association. The school is a community school, so at the present moment it has a high school, so it has a primary and a high school. So for now, I think that is the emotional view. We will be able to learn more. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with the alumni leaders. It's an opportunity for us to share challenges, experiences, and build each other. So I'm glad.
Cool. So we're gonna get straight into it now, into what one probably call the technicalities. And I think I'm also gonna ask our panel members to, every time they ask a question, could we please limit ourselves to a minute of asking a particular question, so we can be able to cover a lot and not really rush the process. I'm going to start with Harold, because you've already come into a space where, apart from the technicalities, logistics of registering and not really finalizing and stuff, but clearly our community was already built and was already ready. And as a president, you've been the president for the last 4 years. I think a lot of the people who are here have just begun, or have begun, or are about to. And one of the things I'd like to know from you is, what is, let's say, a year of activities in your association? What does it mean to be that alumni association? And by that I mean from the phone calls to the emails, to how do you get all the people to be in one room, to how do you connect, how do you reach people, how do you ensure that you're not only just the president, but you're also able to engage with each one of them from a personal level.
Thank you very much, Director. Possibly how we manage to engage with the individuals is, of course, we do have the social media. We have our web page, which is active with members, which, of course, whenever there are issues, of course, we have officials, which are 11 officials, of course, the president, the secretary, that is the name of secretary, we have the treasurer, and we have representatives from various classes. So whenever there is an issue, of course, we are able to engage on social media, that is Facebook, Twitter, and we have class groups. We have WhatsApp class groups going as back as 1980s, which of course we have managed to activate. So out of this, we are able to engage with all the groups. So whenever there is an issue, of course, we just use the representatives to pass the message across and also be able to get the feedback. Two, we always have an annual general meeting at the end of the year, which of course all alumni come in. And most of the time we always target having it in various centers. In that we can have one in Nairobi, one in Eldoret, and one in Kisumu, to be able to reach as many members as possible.
Cool. I'll go straight to Eva and ask the fact that you're a new alumni association. I think one of the things I'd like to know is, how was the journey for you? How did you begin? What was the process from convincing the members to come on board to how like right now, for example, how's your WhatsApp, how's your Facebook? I want to know how that process has been.
Thanks. We started off from social media, just Facebook. That was the easier part because nowadays everyone is on Facebook. Everyone has a smartphone. Most people half the morning at the office are online, not working, but browsing. So it becomes easier to access people on social media. Not very active on Twitter, not very active on other platforms, but Facebook is definitely active. So a few groups were opened for alumni by different people. But we now have tried to consolidate all members into one Facebook group and are able to pass on messages into that group. We then, one day, decided to meet. And we tried to get a neutral place to meet. And as it goes, it's very hard to bring different kinds of people into one place, especially because of work, because of other issues like class issues. Some feel this is too low for me, I don't want to be in that place, in that street, meeting in that hotel. Others feel this is too expensive for me, I won't be able to afford the meal there, I won't be able to afford. So it's very hard to tried as a group, and we have successfully found places that are mutualish. We are able to meet and have a meal and talk and discuss issues. We then decided, when we got a new program, we decided to register as an alumni. But when we spoke to a lawyer, we did not know how to register ourselves, because there wasn't a way of registering alumni as alumni at the time. So we spoke to a lawyer and he advised us on how to at the time. And so we got ourselves registered, took about 6 months or less. We started trying to get funding for projects that we felt were urgently needed in our school. But getting funding was also a big challenge. We approached organizations, we approached big companies, but we found it difficult to get to the people who would help us get funding in those organizations. So there was those challenges that we met while trying to begin. But we succeeded in going back to school for our first visit. We were a good number of people. And we gave a talk in school. We took goodies to the children, to the girls. You don't go empty-handed. They're young, they like to sweet things, so we took to them cake. And we talked with them, and we felt that we had communicated with them, and they were impacted by what we spoke to them about. So this year we hope to do more. We are planning to do a career day back in Karoti Girls next month in July. And that is currently our biggest project right now. We're looking forward to doing it.
Cool. We're going to come back to Wangari, but also as Wangari gets the microphone. One of the things that I'd like us, even as we sit down there, and also the nice thing at the high tech, is something that I'm realizing right now is that when we think about alumni associations, a lot of times, when you think about your high school, your primary school, it's us, yeah. We're still part of that community. But for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to call them them. So we think about those who come after you. One of the things we say even that is fundamental is the fact that people feel like, I probably don't have money and stuff. But I challenge to all of us in that we are very keen on wanting to go back to our high schools and primary schools to help. But one of the key things coming out today is, do we care much about those who we actually school with, about our peers, about our classmates, about our schoolmates? Do they have supper? Do they have dinner? So I think one of the challenges to ourselves is, what about those who were personally connected to us when we were in those schools? What about them? So let's also we'll debate about that later on. So Wangari, obviously we all have been a very interesting journey in not only beginning the process, but also changing the mindset of the people. I'd like you to probably give us a scenario where you told yourself, I'm not doing this anymore. This is too much, why do I have to do this? But then it feels like I have to train the parents first before even, give us a scenario where you felt like, because I know we all go through these moments, I can't do this anymore, and what made you keep pushing?
I would say the hardest part for me is going for a meeting in Kata, and then after I'm through with the meeting, there are like 10 parents waiting on me so that I can provide school fees for their kids. That's really hard. And to say the truth, I don't have that money. And the way I have been able to even help those I educate every year is through friends and networks, So it's not as easy. But what I will tell you is, what keeps me doing it again and again is because who else will do it? If I walk away, who will educate those little girls and boys who are very bright and they are looking up to someone so that they can have a future like the way they look up upon us? So that knowing that there is that need and that gap and nobody else is feeling it makes me not walk away. And like I've told you, as much as, yes, we need all the money in the world, sometimes it's not about the money. It's about your availability. Because now, like, the first year, 2 kids got sponsorship. I'm not sponsoring them because I don't have the money. But just going there and deciding I'm going to do this and becoming the channel, now I think I have 6 or I think there's 7 that are studying under me, you know, because of where I pull the strings here and there. So that's when you sleep and think about the young girl. When you sleep and think about that girl who has dreams, you will wake up and want to do more. Yes.
Colleagues that come to you, and I think because you do come from a community where a lot of people would ask why I'm also I went to that school, but I'm also trying to make it in life. How are you able to convince people to understand that it's got more to do with these people that are coming, you know, after us rather than ourselves? How I'd like to know, for example, like give us a real life scenario where, you know, a conversation you either had with an alumni or the meetings that you have, and what are some of the biggest issues that your alumni has to face?
Well, thank you. I'll address that with
I'm actually reminded
the of
the initial days.
when you are trying to.
So we came to a point where we had to decide on our motto.
And people made different contributions with regards to what can be our motto. So at the end of that discussion, we agreed that our motto would be empowered to empower others. This basically comes from the point of from whatever point you are, at whatever level you are in a position to help somebody else. You're in a position to play a part in somebody else's life. So any graduate from our school, be it from the primary, the high school, college, university, working or not working, is in a position to make a difference. Is in a position to do something for somebody else. You're in a position to make a contribution to your alma mater. This comes in different ways. If you allow me, I'll give an example of how we have categorized our alumni. We have members that just recently graduated from high school. One would say that this group of students still comprise of members who have ambition that they need to realize. But how do we engage them? Within the organization that we come from, within the school that we come from, they have been able to open up space and allow for our members to be able to engage the school in what we define as short-term engagement program. This is where these students are able to come back to this school. They are trained on basic skills, etiquette skills, life skills, and they are also trained on how they can be able to work in a work environment. And you see, these students are actually now able to be utilized within the school setup in different ways. Some act as receptionists, some act as class instructors. They help their teachers. Some actually serve within a unit which is we call the media unit. Since we find there are many young people who are interested in taking photos, having stories, and that actually builds them. It continues to build them. So our students are able, our alumni are able to know and appreciate that it is still a process of growth. Just by coming back and being part of your alumni family, it is not that you're giving yourself for nothing. You're actually growing. You're able to know your strengths, your weaknesses, and do something about it. You're able to interact with your seniors and learn more things that maybe you will not have learned in a class setup. So the idea progresses at the different levels, where we now have those in college. They are used for mentorship programs and the like. And we also have those who are working. And maybe allow me to mention that the oldest member of the alumni is I think 21 years old. Our school is not as it started in 1925.
Let's go back to 1955 people. Harold, for someone who is in the streets days on Twitter, like I was saying, assuming I was the captain voice, and in my head I'm thinking, these guys were going to form WhatsApp groups for our year, and then they'll ask us probably, and someone will even argue, this school already has everything. of what people think alumni associations do. I'd really like to break it down for us. What pushes you guys to keep going? What would you say probably is one of your biggest achievements that has allowed you to walk away from the usual norms of they need to talk to the young boys, the old boys, and talk to the young boys? What is your biggest achievement in that association?
Thank you very much. I believe this is one of the challenges that, of course, we had. When we actually formed the first time, what we did was to introduce a fee. For you to be an active member, you have to pay 1,000 shillings on a yearly basis. And the issue that came up on Facebook and even to the email, the official email, that of course the fact that I graduated from Kosovo Boys, I'm an alumni member. Yes. So why are you asking me to pay 1,000 shillings? Yeah. So it was so hard to always convince members. And at some stage, of course, we broke the 1,000. Those who are in universities, we told them, of course, they had paid 200 shillings, 300, 500. And of course, there are those who have been doing very passionately, and there are those who can't. But of course, what we also do is, if I am able, I could be able to identify one or two people who are not able to pay the tuition fee and pay for them. And out of this, we have grown. And for those who, as you're walking in, there is, of course, a banner on your left, which has a membership fee. And we have a membership fee of even up to 250,000 for gold. And there are those who have paid. You know, that is a sense of commitment. Of course, we have been pushing this, and in terms of achievements, we have done, we do magazines every year, school magazine, possibly for the alumni on yearly basis. And we also do a yearbook for the graduating class as an alumni for all the students. That is for last year's class was 287, so we do a yearbook for each of the classes. For the magazine, of course, I would encourage maybe the attendees today. We do have magazines which are available. We always send it at 1,000, but for the attendees, we can send them for 500. Possibly to give you an idea on what you want to do, because we have highlighted the various projects that we have achieved. In terms of projects, when we were celebrating 90 years, the alumni did a monument for the school for a cost of 5 million. 2, the alumni is currently building a 360 capacity dome in the institution. Of course, the school has grown. You might always assume it has everything, but of course, we always ought to build and give back to society. If it was not for the alumni and of course the good, the well-wishers, currently the school has a primary school which is occupying where some of us were occupying in those days. So the dogs we used to occupy, we have given them to primary school and started Kosovo Boys Primary. Yeah. So it is out of this that of course we shall always try to move forward. The other achievement, apart from the monument and dome, we always have an endowment fund which is running to be able to support the needy students. So it is the various commitments of the individuals that should be able to pull the others. Of course, out of that we find that there are those members who maybe they graduated and didn't succeed to possibly pursue anything else after they clear. So we also encourage the class representatives to always look for members who have not succeeded, and we see how to help them going forward. And I remember 2 of them whom I identified last year. Some of the alumni who have succeeded, of course, gave them jobs. So it is out of coming with that association that, of course, we are able to also network and assist your fellow colleagues, those who have possibly graduated with you. Thank you.
Cool. And in wrapping up, as we give the microphone to Eva, I'm going to ask 2 questions that all of you will answer. Number 1 is moving forward. What is the next step? And the most second or most important question I feel for me would be, what do you feel is the impact or has been the impact of your alumni association to the school and the community at large? So I think probably we can start with Eva. So the way forward and also the biggest impact, or what you feel has been the impact, or what you expect to be the impact in the community and in the schools that you live in.
Okay, thank you. I think for our alumni being so young, currently moving forward, we just hope to be able to reach as many people from us, former members of the school as possible, ranging from all the way back to the 60s. There are people who are in the public sector, who are politicians, who are in our school, but are not able to communicate or reach them the way we should or the way we would have. So moving forward, we want to bring in people who would make a change in the lives of girls in school. We also hope to not only reach or affect girls in Karate girls, but we also hope to reach and affect girls in surrounding schools and other schools. Because I think the biggest calling would be for us would be to inspire girls generally. So that is our biggest call. That is also the impact we hope for our school, that we inspire the girls in our school. We give them hope, because when you're in school, one of the things we face is doubt about what the future holds. And when you see other girls who are in that school have succeeded and become something substantial in society, you find that you get hope. So that's one of the things we hope to do. We also hope to do other projects that the school might need, and also outside the school, we hope that we can make an impact in society generally. So that's currently our plan.
And I think later on, all of us must meet her and need to have some mentorship programs on how this school has a lot of money. We are very rich alumni, so we need to help each other know how we get this. Because I wanted to ask a question about challenges. I know that one big challenge is funding. And I think instead of talking about the problems that we have in getting the money, we don't have a solution. So we all meet her after and give you all those ideas. Yes.
Thank you, Brother. It's not actually about meetings, because when we talk about the very leading alumni in terms of the boys, actually our elder is the former president. Our patron is the current deputy president. So it's not about money. It's about the people who influence in the society. And actually, I would say, of course, we are blessed, especially boys. We are really blessed. Because most of if we look at the political influence, we have a lot of people. And of course, the javelin man, the YouTube guy, is also a golden boy. So God has really blessed us. So it is not about money. What you want to do as a young alumni is, of course, commitment. That is the first thing that always comes in. If you do not have commitment, you cannot go forward. Two, you must sacrifice. I remember, in fact, the officials that I have currently, they actually toiled for around 2 years without even a cent. People are basically sacrificing, going for meetings, calling meetings, and we buy. In fact, we sponsor some of the people to come in. So you must always sacrifice. Thirdly, of course, you must have people who are dedicated, and that is the only way you will grow. We also have challenges. It is not that as much as we've grown as an alumni, we do not have challenges. The biggest challenge now is, of course, what we are looking at is identifying those alumni who didn't succeed in life and possibly assisting them to be the people. Of course, we have assisted some. There are some who are doing very well. In fact, I remember there is one of them whom we possibly, as a class, we contributed and got him a motorbike the other year, and he's doing well. So it is identifying those people who didn't succeed to be able to bring them on board so that they can be able to grow. So challenges are always there. My biggest challenge, and I wish you would have gotten a chance to ask the minister, was there is need for alumni to play a role in the management of the school.
Thank you.
And being in the board. That is the only way we can manage to bring an impact going forward. And that should be a thing that, of course, we really need to apply for, because in some of the management, they are lacking professionalism. When you ask some questions, of course, people look at you like you are coming from the moon. You are not actually understanding how things are being done. So, through our coordinator, possibly let's advocate for that as much as possible. That will always catapult and, of course, improve what this could be marking. Thank you very much.
Cool. In the interest of time, we'll not be able to continue because there is a member forming for the next plenary conversation who really has to leave, and we've taken a lot of your time. So I'm going to ask us to please give a round of applause for our panelists. Also, these conversations need to continue, and as much as they are here, let's not go offline, continue to be online, and by online I mean face to face. I'm going to call up this amazing lady who, by the way, can you please give her a round of applause for all the amazing work she's doing, Pauline from Future Pass, who gets attention like this, and she's going to call up the next plenary conversation, the members as well as the public.
Thank you. Many thanks for your patience. So we have one brief conversation, and the conversation is, yes, Dr. Makeni mentioned, what's the role of alumni in the broader education space? So our next panel will contribute somebody, people I met when I started working with alumni, and they helped me get grounded on how can we start this conversation, remembering it's not about giving back, but also addressing bigger challenges in the education sector. I'm going to invite Joyce and her team. So Joyce, Irongo, and Dominic, everybody stage. And then after their session, we'll ask you to just bear with us for a few minutes as we graduate a class from our alumni leadership program. But for now, their conversations.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. I know the morning was really rushed, and it's because we had just been told we'll have a few minutes, and there's a meeting for ministers of education, and our host, we could retain him that he will be late, and yet you're the host. So kindly excuse us for that. Now I want to introduce our panelists that are here, and I want to start with my far right. His name is Mr. Irongo Houghton, and currently he works with the Society for International Development and the Shule Young Alliance. He's the Associate Director, and he'll be telling us in a short while some of the things they've been doing in Shule Young Alliance. And on my immediate right, we have Mr. Dominic Mwasia. Dominic Mwasia is the Country Director for Kenya Education Fund. This is an organization that has been there for about 10 years, and they do give scholarship, and currently they have 800 students that they offer scholarship. But he has a very unique model that so long as you have been a beneficiary of the scholarship, you commit yourself in writing to go back to your school and give back, so that there is sustainability in the model. Now, what I will do is I'll give opportunity for the two of them to give us a brief on what they do, and then I will open the meeting to the plenary so that you can directly engage with them and be able to ask them questions. So to start, as of, the question that I want to ask the two distinguished panelists is, how can Alumni Association be able to support issues of access and quality? So when you listen the whole day up to now, we are either talking about infrastructure, development, which has something to do with access. There are career talks. We've heard about mentoring. So we are discussing, it's going around those two issues, access and quality. So, Mr. Irungu, maybe you can tell us in issues of access, and of course, I would request that you mention something about Langata and lands and just what you've been doing. And then thereafter, Mr. Dominic can tell us how they are ensuring access and quality education.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So, I guess one of the starting points for me is just as I was thinking and listening to this. One, two, okay. As I've been listening to some of you introducing yourselves, it kind of occurred to me a quite interesting thought that actually my relationship with public schools doesn't narrow down to one school. And I think people said this, they're not sure which school to pick. So just to give you a sense of the journey that I have traveled, I went to Nairobi Primary School, so that would be my primary school, I guess, in that sense. I attended Boy Scouts in Westlands Primary School. My aunt was a teacher at Tumutumu School. I have been on to about 5 or 6 schools in the last 2 years since Langata Road Primary School was reclaimed to support school communities and head teachers to protect their schools from land grabbing. It includes schools like Mondudu out in Kwale or Naka, which are this morning, we have 5 land defenders in court, and the Shulango Alliance is actually supporting them this morning to ensure that they're not arrested. Well, they have been arrested already, they're not convicted of actually, slightly ironically, protecting public school land. So I guess the first thing for me is that I began thinking about is that maybe the time of a national association has come. And that when we think of ourselves as alumni, we actually are thinking about a infrastructure of schools, 29,000 primary and secondary schools across this republic that all belong to us. And that it is important to belong to own one school. But actually maybe the birth of this movement is that you will hold all 29,000 schools in your hands. And if one of them is attacked or their land grabber tries to pick up and walk off with a playground, then you will all converge on that school regardless of whether you went there or not. 2 vivid moments. In 2013, I was sitting in Kilimani, which is the area that I live in, and we were having a conversation with one of the head teachers. And he said something that to this day sticks in my mind. He said, we are in Kilimani, but yet we are displaced from Kilimani. What he meant was that the community had no role to play in the school as it was. In fact, it was somewhat a remote place for most people, except when it came every 5 years when we went to vote. The middle class community would arrive there to cast their votes, spend 5 minutes if the queues were not long, and then leave the school to come back only 5 years later. And it really struck me as an important moment. And I began to think, what is the role of schools in our communities? I'll come back to that one. 2 years later, I walked onto the playground, I tried to walk onto the playground of Langata Road Primary School. And we had done some analysis. The organization I work for, the Society for International Development, had spoken with the MCA, we had spoken with the head teacher and various teachers. We had spoken to the Ministry of Lands and Education. And what we found was a complete paralysis of fear to be able to essentially protect that school. Now, most of us know the story, so I shan't go into the depth of the story, but what struck me, which I would like to share, was a question that I was asked by a police officer at Langata police station. And he said to me, do you have children in this school? I said, no, I I actually have never been to that school before you arrested me. And he said, why would you come from Kilimani?
And if your children are in different schools, I'm going to ask the technicians to take care of us.
You know when you're on your third mic, there's a problem, right? Okay. And this one was still a bit shocked, and it suddenly occurred to me, yeah, why would somebody leave Kilimani, go to a different ward altogether, walk onto a playground, and proceed to get arrested alongside other people in a situation that probably was neither safe nor politically correct, and thirdly also perhaps would not be an unpopular act. And those two moments really bring me to my 3 points in terms of this morning. Our public schools are at the center of our communities. I would even argue further, our public schools are at the center of our communities and at the center of our nation. The quality of our public schools determine the quality of our communities, determine the quality of our nation. So what you have embarked on as alumni, I think the CS was very powerful in this. He says, I honor you for stepping into that space, because you're not just stepping into the space of your own schools. You are actually reclaiming your communities and you're reclaiming the nation, because those three things are ultimately connected. And he talked about taking responsibility. Let me throw up another point, I guess. As we embark on this journey, we have really to think about two sets of risks very clearly. The first risk is this one. 41% of our schools are at risk of being encroached upon or grabbed by private developers. We did a study last year at the Kilimani Alliance, and we discovered, just looking at 15 schools, that the government of the people of Kenya were about to lose 750 million shillings worth of real estate. They were about to impact, this loss of real estate was about to impact on tens, if not hundreds of thousands of school children currently and in future. So the first thing we have to think about is what is the risks in terms of the asset base of our schools and how do we protect that? I'll come back to this. The second external risk is that we now live in a very polarized society. It's polarized on various levels. It's polarized on geography, it is polarized on ethnicity, but more importantly, it's actually polarized on issues of income and class. If we cannot find ways of giving middle-income families the opportunity to go to public schools, then the resources that they spend in private schools get wasted in those schools but cannot be brought to the public school. Let me give you an example. My son, I won't name him or the school, otherwise he'll tweet it and then he'll abuse me tonight. My son, if I was to move my child out of the private school that he's currently in and move him into a public school and keep that level of investment, I could probably impact on about 100 schools, right, just by doing that. What if I reached out to 10 other of the parents of his schoolmates and said, let's move our children to schools that are closest to us. So my son doesn't have to travel 60 to 90 minutes one way to get to school every morning and one way back. The schools are so resourced that I get a text as he steps onto the bus in the morning. I get a text as he steps off the bus when he gets to school and vice versa. What if I gave all of that up, maintain the investment, and then had my child walk 5 minutes, because that's how far I live, to Kilimani Primary School? Right? Imagine what that would look like. The internal risk is this, and the CS has spoken about this. We need to find ways of raising the public accountability of our schools to the communities around us, because if we do that, we will create the possibility of our communities to continue to invest in those schools, even if they don't initially take their children to those schools. I'll give you an example from the Kilimani Project Foundation. We have spent maybe the last 3 years since that very first conversation with the head teacher, looking at ways of how we can bring the community back onto the school. We celebrated Nelson Mandela Day in the school. We brought maybe about 10 South African companies, the South African Embassy, to participate in the school. They painted the school, they built the Nelson Mandela Library. The foundation then reached out to the Kilimani residents. We did the cafeteria. There's a whole range of things that are possible, and you're all doing this, so I won't bore you with this particular example. But we need to find ways of generating goodwill in society. And the only way we can do that is to ensure that we have 5 to 3 external audits that are publicly available for anybody who would like to invest in the school. Because the thing that community members fear most, the thing that your alumni and your fellow colleagues fear most, is that they will contribute and that money will go into the hands of 1 or 2 individuals. So how do we build up the integrity base within our schools so that you can absorb this? I have a few more thoughts, but let me stop there and hope that that's stimulated some conversation.
Let me start by saying that I'm an alumni of Kilimani Primary School, and I went to Aquinas High School. That was a long time ago. I just met one of the other people who went to Aquinas, but that was, he left the school 20 years after me. And we had a very challenging conversation because we couldn't have anyone to remember in common. Like mentioned before, I work with the Kenya Education Fund, which I also co-founded. But what I would like to say is that Kenya Education Fund did not start as an organization. It started as an idea where I used to work previously, and my work involved visiting villages and the rural places to disseminate health messages. And in a few occasions while I was doing that, I realized that there were school-going children who were not in school, they were at home. And I kept on thinking that if these kids who are in school right now, they wouldn't be suffering from what they are suffering right away. And I remember because we had a case of cholera epidemic. And every time you visit a household, you realize that in addition to them not having gone to school, maybe there were other challenges. For example, that day they didn't take breakfast. And we kept on thinking, what if these people had a certain level of education? Would they be uptaking the health messages in a better way? And that's how we started the idea of trying to take more kids to school for access. But then at some point we realized taking kids to school and the paying fees didn't guarantee that they were going to do well. And we started trying to understand why was it that they were not doing well, and we realized that all our kids had one thing in common. They came from very challenging backgrounds. For example, forced marriage, or they were running away from female genital circumcision, or from HIV backgrounds, and these issues kept on impeding on their academic progress. And we started conversations around how to address such issues, and then came up with something that we later called mentoring. I'll be looking into that later. Anyway, a few years ago, I was invited to speak at a primary school. It was an impromptu meeting. There were no plans, so I walked in. It was a class 8 group. And around this time, I asked them, 1 year from today, where will you be? Just think of where will you be 1 year from today. And normally you would expect they would say in a certain high school somewhere. And I told them to write. So the 36 of them wrote on pieces of paper. And while we were going through those pieces of paper, we realized that none of them said high school. So they didn't imagine themselves being in high school. And then later when we were having conversations, we realized, these kids have never interacted with someone who came from their schools and actually went to high school. And that got us to start thinking about the students that we sponsor, because all the students that we support come from such primary schools. What if you just went back to your primary school and bragged about your high school? Just talk about the school bus, talk about the computers, talk about the labs, talk about all those things that happen in your high school, but your primary school kids have never either seen them or experienced them. That will give them something to work towards. And we made it mandatory for the students that we support during the school holidays to go back and just talk about the high school. And from that, students or pupils from such primary school started doing well actually academically because they have a vision, they have a picture of where they will end up at. And to respond to your question about the role of mentoring, in addition to the many other things that have been mentioned here, one thing is that alumni will form the most loyal supporters, whether it is financially, whether it is socially, whether it is others. If called upon to do something, they will be the most loyal because they have a stake. They are part of that community, they are part of that institution. In addition to that is the essence of giving back. And sometimes we think that giving back is about having money. Our students who are in high school right now are already giving back to their primary schools by going to talk about their high schools alone, or by helping to teach some of the subjects that pupils have difficulties with, like mathematics or science. Another way of alumni engaging with the institutions is the role modeling. Just like the case I have given about that primary school, they have never seen someone who went through their primary school and actually succeeded. What if we went back to that primary school and say, I was also here, these are the challenges we faced, and I managed to go to the next level, I have succeeded in this, you also can do it. So that we demystify a scenario where our pupils, or even our high school students, only engage with negative role models. Because in the absence of positive role models, then we give an opportunity to negative role models. And then another benefit is about mentorship. Every time you go to a secondary school, for example, and you ask people, what would you like to be when you finish the school process? Almost everybody will say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a pilot, I want to do this and that. But most of them don't know what that means. Most of them don't know what it takes to actually do medicine. They don't know how long it takes. They don't know what kind of a person you will become once you become an engineer. What is it that you do when you become an engineer or pilot or that other person? So if we can go back as people who have been in that institution, either as doctors, either as pilots, either as those other people that we are, and give them an opportunity to actually learn from us. So, and help them walk that path that we walked. And tell them, or maybe even demonstrate that this is what I walked through, this is what it took me to get where I am now, this is what I do on a daily basis. And as AF, we've come up with a program that gives job shadowing to students. So if you want to be a doctor, we link you up with a practicing doctor, you spend the whole day with them. Now, I'm just thinking that process would actually be even better if the person you are working with is a person who went to your school, and they would understand the culture and the process that will lead us to that point.
Thank you very much. Now, since morning, I've been able to pick about 3 things. So the first one is the need, and we've all identified the need. What's close to Dominic were the poor children and the vulnerable children. That was the need. So for Irongo, I think he's passionate about the space, the land that belongs to schools. And he forgot to mention that about 3 weeks ago, he, through his organization, the CS, Professor Kilimani, gave actually 1,000 titles to schools through the initiative. So first is identifying the need, and we've heard from Kapsabet, we've heard from Kaga, Karoti. So I think all of us have an idea of the needs that are there in our school. And then when it comes to structure, I think the registration of organization, and that one we can always deal and linking with Pauline. We can be able to begin discussing how do we out of this group, forming the Association of Alumni Communities. And I liked CTNA's recommendation, having alumni be formally recognized by the ministry and fitting into the structures that exist. Now, in terms of strategy, I think that's where I want us to end, and I want to give the opportunity. You've been quite very good audience, but I want us to engage the two panelists, and in case they are not able to answer, they feel maybe one of the team that was here would better address. We want to open it up. So maybe we can begin thinking, because all of us seems like we are struggling with one thing or another. It looks like Mr. Irongo seems to be doing so well. He's able to mobilize and do so much, you know, and yet we heard from, I think, Karoti, they're struggling on how to fundraise. So whether it's issues of strategy or whatever question you may have, I want to open this to you. You can address any, we begin with the two. In case they cannot answer, they can refer to that question. So it's open to you to ask them. So we have issues of quality and mentoring and also infrastructure. So welcome. So maybe you can lift your hand in case you have a question. So number one, just mark your number. Number one in the blue suit. Number two, the gentleman here in front. Number three, number four, and number five. So kindly say your name and your association, and then tell us who the question who you're addressing between our two panelists. That's Mr. Irongo Hutton at the end, and we have Dominic Mwasia. So thank you. So maybe we can have someone taking the mic round.
So number one at the back.
Thank you. My name is Irina Sua. I represent Nia Girls High School, currently a student at the University of Nairobi. Mine is rather a request, as we have pledged that you're going to do mentorship programs back in our schools. We realize that our system is so much dependent on academic excellence, and hence we end up producing individuals who are not all around, like who are not holistically developed. So as we go back to our schools to mentor the students, can we also involve other skills that are never taught in class, so that we give the students the initiative to go out of class to learn all these skills that are also important but are not included in our curriculum? That's my concern.
Okay, thank you. So I think we'll take all the five and then address the issues. So we'll ask Dominic to tell us exactly what they mentor on. Is it just career and academic performance? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Kamam Bogwan. I am representing Kamama Boys Association, and I'm happy to have my chairman in my head here. I wish to make a comment question, and what I'm just going to ask is another touchy question. And I am happy, I want to address this one to hold on the logo, because I think he has mentioned it briefly, as the issue of the public. We're talking about, I'm concerned about the public schools, public hospitals, and so on and so forth. My question and my comment is, what are we going to do as far as strategy is concerned, so we can actually have the children of public officials and people like us who are in this meeting here, who are in the middle income status, to have their children in public schools? Because for as long as, he has mentioned about it, as long as my child is not in the public school in my neighborhood, where I come from in Nairobi, then whatever happens there, I'll already be reading about it in the newspapers, watching it in the TV when it is too late in the day. And if I may bring it a little bit more real, A few days ago, I received WhatsApp comments where somebody was saying that the presidents who are making the future decisions for the Western world, if you go through them, all of them do not have children. Then I responded to whoever sent that SMS and that WhatsApp to me and said, in Africa, all our presidents do not have their children in public schools. So the decisions they are making do not impact on them because they don't take their children to public schools. They also do not take their children to public hospitals. Even themselves do not go to public hospitals. So my question is, what exactly shall we have to do so that myself as Kamau asking this question and this other public officer do take our children there? Simple. Thank you.
The number 3, just raise your hand. Behind you.
Thank you. My name is Mr. Jonathan, the Deputy President of After Boys Alumni Association. I'm not going to ask a question, but to comment and give some additions to some challenges that alumni associations are going through and how they can better handle them. The first one is the issue of legitimacy and ownership. In most cases, for example, when you say, I belong to this alumni association, the other alumni who belong to that school will quickly distance themselves from you or that group and say you are just a group of people trying to pursue your interests going forward. So how do you go around that issue of ownership so that everyone accepts that you are the alumni association of that particular school? The first place to start is at the registration. When you're going to register your association, don't do it alone, that is as individuals. Include the school as part of your registration. Like what we did is we went to the school, told them we had this meeting, we want to become an alumni body. We want a letter from you so that as we find all these things in the register of societies, they know we are part of that school. And the school actually knows that there is an alumni association that is going to register themselves as alumni of this particular school. Because if you don't do so, there can be other alumni association coming up. And the best way to do it when you're giving the address is actually to give the address of the school as your address. And in fact, what we do ourselves is all our files, we keep it at the school in Capital Boys. So all our files are there so that any alumni working in can check on our records so that we increase on the other guys owning the process and being legitimate. So that's number one. Number two is how do we encourage the young alumni who just left high school and we want them to be involved now that they don't have the money to pay the fee if you have introduced a fee to join your alumni. In universities, when I was in campus, for example, what we used to do, we could call the principal of the school and tell him, send us the bus to the university, and then we put all those belonging to that school and go back to the school, and we have all of us going to talk to the students at the school. That's one, because that will be cheaper for those who stay in universities. And number two is we started the yearbook thing. This is on mentorship. We realized that, for example, in the US, they normally have yearbooks, and you've seen that. Somebody saying, my yearbook was this. You've seen that. So why can't we introduce yearbooks to our schools, high schools specifically, where when I'm finishing my high school, I want to, in future, be remembered by a quote that I leave in the yearbook. So what we did as an experiment, and we allowed the form force to write their yearbooks, and we did a magazine, and the yearbook quotes on that magazine. But on the same magazine, we introduced different alumni who have succeeded in various fields in the same magazine. So that we had a DJ who has succeeded, we put him on the magazine. We get an athlete, we put him there, get a doctor, but cross the field so that we don't glorify some professions as better than the others. So that, and then this magazine is given to every form for who is leaving, and he's told that now you're going out there, go and join the alumni so that we give back. Several years later, when somebody remembers they want to look for their classmates, It's easy when you check them out on the magazine. Sometimes you forget even the names of your classmates. But if you go to the yearbook and check, you say, where is this guy? Let me look for him. He was a very naughty guy in class, and I need to look for him. Like, for example, in my class, 2000, there is one...
Sorry to cut it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let me end there. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to request, please make it 30 seconds so that as many as can share. Now, I want to request, you've raised a valid point. I may not be supporting the school where I went to, but I may be supporting my neighboring school. So maybe, again, Mr. Irombo can tell us, you're sending your kids to a different school, but you're working with Kilimani. Do they feel offended? Do they feel like you're, how do you negotiate? Because I may want to give back to the school next to me. Will these people beat me and refuse me that I must have been a member? Or can I join in supporting? I think that's the question. So number 4, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you very much. My question is to Irongo. Irongo, yes, we were in the same primary. So Nairobi Primary School is where we were. Now, it's about the titles for the schools. Now, when I consider the schools I've gone to, our primary and also Upper Hill, those are very prime areas where you find that the property value is very high, very costly. So, question is, do we probably have title process for those two institutions? And if not, are we able to, how do we just start this process so that we can be able to at least protect that acreage for both the schools? And then the second one is, in terms of engaging with the school management, there's a lady who said that she's in 3 of them. So, like she said, it's illegal. So, if we are to engage with the school, the voice that the former students bring to the management, is it a standing that can be held as a legal point, or is it something that can be overwhelmed by numbers and then become like, in all of us terms, endorsing certain decisions at the board level? Thank you.
Thank you. So the last question. So we take another round. So let's take one and then we'll take 2 more after that.
My name is Caroline. I represent Tumutumu Girls Alumni. And our biggest challenge is approaching the school administration when you want to have activities. They are not so supportive and we wonder how exactly we should approach them. Second question is, we are a young alumni group and we have issues to do with funds. Mr. Yorongo, to you, who exactly do you approach as part-timers? Thank you.
Okay, so over to the panelists, and feel free to forward a question that you feel you may not be adequately able to answer to any of the former panelists. Thank you.
Yeah, I've asked permission from Daniel to allow me to go first, partly because I need to be somewhere by 1. I thought we were going to be done by 12, and I know there will be a lot of questions if I'm not there in the next 10 minutes or so. So I'll kind of respond. My contacts are with Pauline. I should also mention that Pauline spoke at the launch of the 1,000 titles, and it was a great moment, I think, for the country. 1,000 titles is about something like 10% of all the applications that have been made by head teachers across the country, but it is still about 3.5% of the schools that currently need titles. Just to give you a sense, we're very far, despite the fact that 1,000 titles is a great moment. Let me continue on the issue of applications. I think it was David that raised, I think, an important point about, Nairobi Primary School, Upper Hill. There is no database, to be honest, on the status of schools in terms of their legal title deeds, whether they've been surveyed and so on. I've been trying really for the last 3 years to persuade the Ministry of Lands or the Ministry of Education to produce a joint database that could even be publicly accessible, so that any citizen across the Republic could go back and check whether their school has a title or not. But it's been quite bureaucratic in terms of the responses, so we're still working on this a bit. What we do know is that 10,000 schools, about 20,000 schools don't have title deeds based on a random survey that we did last year. About 10,000 have applied and 7,000 are in the process of being analyzed. In terms of specific schools, what I would advise the alumni leaders here to do is to first of all check in with the head teacher and ask them what is the legal status of the land that we have. How much of the land is contested? How much have we lost over the years? Many of the Nairobi schools have actually lost land, and it's not small parcels of land. But if you take a school like Kilimani Primary School, they lost 80 acres to Jehovah's Witnesses back in 1998 as an agreement between Jehovah's and the former president, Daniel Moi. And some of that is still in a conversation about reclamation. That's why we moved so quickly in the case of Langata Road Primary School, and for that matter, Lavington Primary School, which I don't know if you remember just over a year ago, I had the same problem. So I think the first thing is to find out the status of your schools. Oli and Future First are members of the Sri Lanka Alliance. Approach them, they will send the information to us, and I can guarantee you that we'll pass that to our coordinator to also do some analysis in terms of the schools and feedback to you.
The second point really relates to fundraising. I'm going to ask you for batteries. It's probably appropriate that we've been talking about resources at a point like this.
Okay.
So on the issue of resource mobilization,
I think the second conversation is a great conversation. And there are kind of 4 laws of, fundraising that I found really useful in my time. The first is your personal credibility, that you are able to deliver on what you say you are committed to. So your word is very important. Please don't make promises that you don't think you can keep. Because what that does is it creates a sense of trust, a sense of confidence and credibility, that if you ask people for resources, that money will be spent in where you said it would go. The second is think less about fundraising and think more about friend raising, right? If you look at the alumni and the former students and so on, map that community. That's your resource bank, and begin to identify them in terms of. Somebody once said it's kind of interesting: 5 critical friends, 50 critical friends, and 100 critical friends. And the 5 critical friends you need to continually bring into your circle. And it may not be that you're asking them for resources. It may be that you're even connecting them to other friends. But you need to become useful to those 5 people, because as you become useful to them, they will become useful to you. They will offer you resources. So friend raising is the second one. The third one is the urgency of now. Not that Africans have a problem with time. That is sometimes what we tell ourselves. It's not true. Africans are extremely organized when it comes to time. They just make different priorities in terms of whether they want to be there on time or not. They are doing other things. Those are the priorities that they are making. But if you can create an urgency of now, right, you can mobilize people, not tomorrow or the day after, but today to take an action or to support an action. And I think that has always worked for me. It's actually how do you keep people focused that not tomorrow, but today is the critical moment. Those 3 elements I think are really important. I think already in the group people have talked about non-financial support versus financial support. What you will find is that there are people who are unable to give financial support, but are very able to give you their time, their contacts, their resources. Some of them have assets that they're not using that they could share with others. Let me start to the last quick point. I think it was raised here by the colleague who talked about. Until we get public officials and the middle class to put their children into schools, we're not going to see a major systemic change. And I think I agree with that. Maybe the time has come, as some of the politicians are now saying, or the political activists are now saying, that public taxpayers' monies, taxes should not be used in any way by public officials in private facilities. But one of the things we should do is begin to restrict all the benefits that we give public officers restricted to public facilities. And that might have a situation where the cabinet secretary has to make a decision, or the principal secretary has to make a decision, about whether they will dip into their own pockets to do this, or whether they will actually look at how to support those schools. And unfortunately, my last two children are the age of 17 and 19. I kind of wish that I had children a bit younger that were going into the public school system, so I could test that. One thing that I do know is that my 31-year-old son went to a public university and went to public schools, that he is much more networked in this economy and much more confident about how to move in this economy than some of my children who went to some of the finest schools outside of this country, not just private schools, but when they went to universities outside and came back, they've had to struggle to adjust to the economy. And I always feel I studied abroad, right? So after Nairobi Primary School, I was outside in actually secondary school, and then even the next two universities, either University of Dar es Salaam or University of London. And I came back in at the age of, whatever it was, 20, went into the economy in 1999. I had to build a network. Right? I didn't have a network. And I remember speaking to my wife at the time and saying, you know, I really envy you. You went to University of Nairobi, you studied law. Now the people you studied with are judges, they're lawyers across town, they're business people. You have that whole network. I had to start from scratch. Right? Now, I think one of the interesting projects that Future First could do, and I want to suggest this in closing, why don't you produce a policy brief, a nice study, that looks at the benefits of public education from a perspective of influencing middle-income parents. Let me give you one very simple thing. I could say, at the moment, I probably invest as much as the value of a piece of land in my children every term, right? Not just every year, but every term. That I know that, you know, we have this conversation. I know it's an investment that I will reap from. My children are wonderful, they do very well in school. So I don't begrudge them that. But I know that it doesn't make economic sense. That if I had public schools that could do this, it would make a hell of a lot of difference, and it would save the family enough resources for me. At the end of their school life, secondary, I could actually give them a piece of land. Right? I could give them a piece of property. It doesn't make sense. Now, I think that's what Future First could do for us. Do a study that actually makes this crystal clear to this community, what it is that they are giving up by allowing themselves to continue to put their children through high-cost private schools when they could be in public schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I respond to the question about mentoring. I think it was raised by a lady from near us. When we bring our students together for these conversations, we actually do very little about academics, because we take them to very good schools, so we don't need to teach them anything outside of what they learn. But it is important for them to understand why they do the things they do, and so we engage them on other things that are not necessarily academic. And some of these things include leadership and governance, so that they can understand how the leadership structure in the country works, in their high schools work, even in their classrooms, and we challenge them. If you feel that your class prefect is not doing his job, why are you not taking up that position? Why don't you apply to become the school captain? We also talk about communication. How do you communicate? How do you express yourself? How do you walk into someone's office and get them to listen to you? We talk about self-awareness, for them to understand themselves, things like time management, things like careers. If you want to pursue this career, what is it that you need to study, and to what extent? Interpersonal relationships. How do you relate well with your classmates, with your schoolmates, with people at home? And things like reproductive health, so that they can make informed decisions when it comes to their reproduction. And as a result of this, I must say that our students have always done better, much better than the national average. And I also need to state that our cut-off point for consideration for this scholarship is 290, which is the lowest in this sector, because other NGOs will take up kids who are 370 and above. Ours is 290. At the end of Form 4 exam, when we get the KCSE results. For example, last year, class of 2016, we all know that the national average was at 15%. Those who qualified to join public universities, we were at 60%. The year before, I think the national average was 31%. Those who qualified to go to university, we were at 82%. Yet, our intake was the lowest at 290 out of the possible 500. And it's because, due to the mentoring and the conversations that we have, kids are able to relate life, what they learn, and how that will affect or impact on their future. And I also need to say that we have these conversations during the school terms. Like now, we do them between May and July. And maybe this will be addressing another question that is raised. We get the schools to release the students to attend a workshop at a central location. For example, all the schools in and around Nairobi will allow the students to be out of school from Thursday to Sunday, and we send them back after. And we have gotten the schools to agree on this because they see the benefit. We are getting to a point where actually schools want us to go and have engagements with the rest of the student population. But we've been working with them for quite a while now. They understand why we're doing this. And we're also thinking about increasing the number of students in one school and reducing the number of schools that we work with and use our students to influence the rest of the school population in a positive way. I didn't mention that we work with 195 high schools across the country. Okay? So I think that addresses the issue of the mentoring. About the alumni association, although we are not an institution, we are an organization. We do have an alumni association which is actually registered. And we have one person, one staff member from the office who sits in the committee of the alumni association. And the way we do it is that at the end of each year, we have a graduation ceremony after the results are out. We bring all the kids together for about 1 week. We discuss about their transition. Now we've been working with you for 4 years. We are transitioning to university or colleges or whichever other field you may want to pursue. How do you navigate that process? How do you figure out how to apply for help? How do you seek information? Where do you seek that information? How do you network? And during that time, we invite university students who have gone through the program to come and talk their own university experiences. And at the end of that 1 week, they register as alumni members of the association. So by the time they leave, they actually pay and become members of the association. And it is within that association group where they get to network, where they get to share about other opportunities that may come up. Thank you.
So thank you. I want to stop here. I know we have many questions. We have many things we want to discuss. And I want to give the meeting back to Pauline. There's just 2 issues. There's the graduation of class, because FutureCast has been taking alumni. So thank you, Dominic. Through training. So there's graduation of the current class, and then thereafter is Pauline will tell us the way forward. So thank you very much. So for me, I'll go and sit now. My full name is Joyce Kinyanjui, working with Zizi Afrik, that is hosting Future Fast. So thank you very much, and it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
I'm going to start with the way forward, then we can continue the class. So, briefly, as the CS left, there was an obvious invitation for us to engage, and for me that's a very exciting part. And before I say on how we're going to engage from here, I just first want to mention the Association of Alumni Communities in Kenya does not exist without you guys. As Future Fast, there's a board over there. So for me, it could be, I think about, I was able to establish this. But for it to grow, So this is an invitation for all of us to be part of it. So I'm going to be sending out an email. Forward is to, if you haven't signed your alumni pledge, I would also ask you to sign an online version so that you're able to properly follow up with you to see what kind of support you need. For the association, it's an invitation to form. I know when we were starting the conversation on who will form part of the alumni association, how will it be structured? We're like, we work with over 100 alumni leaders. Why don't we invite them to the table to figure this out? So I'm inviting you to the table to help us figure out what the association is and how do we engage with government. Someone mentioned about alumni serving in board. How can we get that conversation to a policy level so that for one of the countries we start this Ghana, a BOM is not fully constituted without two members of BOM. And now we are also trying to measure what's the effect of having an alumni in the BOM. CS mentioned something about priority over gas, over water. So how do you have this conversation that benefits the students even at the school management level? So as I close, I'm inviting you over to help form the Alumni Association. As I say, that it's hosted by us in Future First, but you are the association. So we'll be calling for meetings just to see what the structure is, who are the committee members and figuring it out. So welcome. And once again, I want to apologize for holding you for more than an hour. Today was extremely new for the CS, so we had to switch off a few things to make sure that we are able to have him talk to us. So his speech will be online in a few hours, I think. The social media thing is online, so share it as widely, because it was a call for engagement. Share the alumni pledge widely. And also, as an organization, we want to create alumni leadership. So one of the things we designed is a leadership training. This is to support alumni. Some of the challenges you raise, how do you volunteer? How do you manage volunteers? You have 11,000. How do you do that? We need to fundraise. How do we do that? So our course covers all that. It's also on our website. I'll send you a link. You can apply for the third cohorts, that's starting application. So to graduate this class, I'll invite one of our internal trainer who's been supporting on the leadership aspect. So one of the aspects of the alumni leadership is on leadership, because it's a call for leadership. So we invest heavily in making sure you all feel supported as leaders. If you have questions, let's get back to that. So I'm going to invite Gerard. Every time I can, Gerard is one person I call and he answers me. When I started 4 years ago, I was randomly asked to go look for alumni, and he's the first alumni I ever engaged. It's been 4 years and he's still giving back to his former school, which he'll mention in a few minutes, and then he'll award certificate to our cohort one of alumni. Yay! Proud to graduate.
Good afternoon, alumni. Good afternoon. And good afternoon, alma mater. And good afternoon, alumnus. Okay, in case you're lost, then perhaps that means that you are invited to one of the great courses that they have put together. My name is Gerald Mwangi Walterman. I sat with a few people who were next to me, and when they asked me which alumni do you belong to, I said, I shall share with you. I'm an alumni of Kilimani Primary School. That is in the county of Nairobi. I am an alumni of Kalsa Primary School. That is in South Sea. I'm an alumni of Mumias Boys. That is somewhere in Mumias. I'm an alumni of Kaptagat Preparatory. The school has died. Yes? And it has very, very, very top cream of this school. So I'll talk to my brother to ignite the people who belong to that school and ask, why did it die? I am also an alumni of Highway Secondary School and an alumni of Nairobi Secondary School. For university, like Houghton, I happen to also have gone out, University of Victoria in Canada, and then the University of Leeds in the UK. But all those don't matter, so I decided I must be recognized also having studied in university in Kenya so that I can feel the pain. But again, there was the issue of fabric. So I went to USIU. Therefore, I still need to become an alumni of a public school in Kenya University. So, in terms of what I've been asked to do, I wanted also to just take the opportunity to quickly comment on somebody who asked about sitting on the board of management of alumni schools. I happen to have sat on the board of Highway Secondary School. It was purely out of the things that were of interest and priority. I happened to go back to Highway to give back because there is a man I treasure to this day, and probably some of you have read his books. He's called John Nganga. He writes a book on leadership, and that was not his convocation, but his work was actually working as a senior procurement person at a company that was selling oil. I asked him one time, from Form 1 up to Form 4, every Wednesday, he came and stood and spoke to us. And you may not believe it, words have power. What we say with our tongues has manifestation. He stood for only 15 minutes, and he would ensure us that we shall become what we choose to be, as long as we do it with dedication. John Nganga did that for 4 years. When I left the school and I went back, I was told John Nganga still comes. Today, John Nganga goes around universities doing the same thing. He is about 65 or more years. I was only 30 when I started. So I ask you, when you sit here with abundant energy, what are you doing for at least one of your alumni schools? Yes, one. So with past futures, the person who asked about belonging on the board, I went to speak as a mentor. You have to decide for yourself what the priority is. And once you find the priority, it will help you to tap into your talents and gifts so that you do what you can do best. If you do decide to sit on those boards, I beg you, do not sit for the sake of your name, for the sake of having your name on the CV saying I am a member of the board of this school. But when you sit, do something. And the way to prepare for you seated here, women, there's something called Women on Board. Google that. Start training as early as you can so that you belong there, and when you go onto those boards, you actually have a tangible skill. If you're an alumni of past futures, futures first, then make sure that you're also training yourself on leadership and governance so that you are prepared to be asking the right questions and to be performing for the right cause. So I wanted to say those few words, and then now I engage on what I've been called to do here, which is to graduate our first cohort. Thank you. Therefore, when we call your name, and these ladies and gentlemen who are here as we are graduating this cohort, it is an honor to always see people graduate. Yes? Okay. This is important. So, I shall hand over the certificates next to Matiani's signature. I think even I want to be next to the signature. Very good. Very good.
And I guess what I was saying is, Kenyans, we have the habit of appreciating and applauding those who do the wrong things. And the ones that do the right things are rarely appreciated in the right way. Therefore, anybody who took this class will tell you, we are very active. We just don't do this haphazardly.
Yes? So, Antonio, don't go too far. You're one of my past volunteers. So there's one. I need another volunteer on this side. One volunteer. Thank you, Irene. Very bold. Just to balance it out so that we can be four. Another one volunteer. This is about leadership. Kenyans, you're interesting people. When somebody says a volunteer, we all hold ourselves. And when the goodies begin to be shared, you want to hire. Kwa nini mimi sikupewa? Sindio? Thank you. And your school produces very good, let me say, mothers and wives.
Yes. Yes. So I hope you're keeping in track with the same. Yes. Very good. Excellent. The reason I've invited you here, I want you guys to help me how to appreciate the individuals that will be coming here. So each of you has your own style. And I'll accept your style because I've asked for the volunteer, but I didn't consult which style that is. So shall we start with that? Because it seems to know, yeah?
So, I'll motivate these individuals, whether it's a club or it's a song, but they must appreciate this individual. And we shall share it among the three of us. You see now she goes, oh no, this is not what I was told to do on the board. That's what happens, eh? So, but she will have accommodated by then. He's starting.
So could you please show us the way, like what is your style? Yeah.
Yes, for example, I will be inviting a certain name. As he is coming, this is what you will do for this particular individual. For me, you will give me 1, and by the time he is speaking the certificate, you'll give me fire. Fire coming from all of you. Can we practice? Now, assuming it's him, direct to him, okay? So, creativity. We have been called and we have been challenged, right? Okay? Very good. So, I know you have thought of yours. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a club, okay?
Okay.
Very good.
So, since I'm an Rasta, mine is because it's lion paw. So, when the person is called to do this, yes, lion paw. Yeah, I know you guys are going to a free jam station, you just pretend. Lion paw. Yeah, power.
They have to say.
Oh, they have to say, yeah, it's so power. Power.
Okay? So, our first graduate is none other than Nicholas Mwangi Joroge. Nicholas? Very good. Yeah.
So, the power club.
I want to
Oh.
What? Very good. Yeah? So that's you. You're ready to the next one? Okay, what is yours?
So mine is simple. If I say kachi, you say kaboom. Okay? Kachi, kaboom, kaboom. Kaboom, kachi. Kachi, kachi, kaboom, kaboom. Yeah, mine very simple. Yes.
Very good. So, for that one, Edward Mboko Shangara.
Kachi, kaboom, kachi, kaboom, kachi, kaboom, kaboom. Kachi, kachi, kaboom, kachi, kaboom, kaboom. Yeah.
Very good. Kaboom.
I'm going to keep it very, very simple. When I don't know what to do, I keep it simple.
Very good.
Just say heckle, but give it your all. Because I'm sure, having graduated here, they've given it their all. So when we give them our heckle, because we actually give people heckle, we give it our all.
So, Shakar Abdi Dada. Very good. So, this one is mine.
We are inviting Agima Naomi Nyabuto. Agima Naomi Nyabuto.
I said it's mine. I didn't give you direction. Hold on. Yes. I warm it. Direct it to her. Direct to her. Well done. Excellent. Yeah. Well done. Keep it up.
Now we don't really need now.
Now you don't need the microphone. Excellent. Very well. So the next one, Lucy Wanjiku Njogu.
Power.
Power. Lucy Wanjiko Njogu? Power! Lucy Wanjiko Njogu? Power! Lucy Wanjiko Njogu? Power! Walk with power. 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 Very good. Well done. Ah. Hey, is this gentleman here? I haven't seen you. None other than Jamlik, Kogi, Gingo.
Kashin.
Kashin, kashin.
Kaboom. Kashin, kaboom. Kashin, kashin. Kaboom, kashin, kaboom.
Kaboom. Kashin. Very good. Well done. The next one is Naomi Madera.
Echo.
Naomi Madera.
Echo. Echo.
Okay? I'm sure it's echoed back to her, yeah? Very good. Okay. So the next person is Marvin's Akumu Mangu. Marvin's Akumu Mangu.
Power.
Power.
Power. Wait, give up power, you guys. Power.
Okay. So the next one is Sarome Kaminjuki. Sarome Kaminjuki.
There she is. Kashin. Kaboom. Kashin, kashin. Louder. Kaboom. Kashin. Until she arrives here. Kaboom. Kashin. Kashin, kashin. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, before I was rigged out, so the next one is Christine Aroj Ayeko. Christine Aroj Ayeko. Warm the hands, keep them warm. She's tall, so keep gravitating the angle. Well done. Excellent. Well done. Very good. Aha. Are we reading or we?
No,
okay. Very good. So, Royce Wamoyo Jaju.
Power.
Now, Echo power.
When she gets here.
Yeah.
And now,
Echo. Well done. Good. Very well. Aha. The next one is Geoffrey Nyongesa Wangila. Power.
Power.
Power. Power. Power. Very well. And let me tell you guys, you're so lucky you are born in the era after 1982, because if we said that then. Excellent. Very well. Gideon Makumi. Gideon Makumi. Aha. Excellent. Very well. Well done. Well done. Aha. Janet Jerry Wangari. Janet Jerry Wangari.
Yeah. Kashin. Kaboom. Kashin, kaboom. Kaboom, kaboom.
Next is Mokoya Christabel Moran. Mokoya Christabel Moran. She's here? Okay.
coming from south, and ladies and gentlemen,
Echo.
Next, Corey Fiona Nafula. Corey Fiona Nafula.
Power!
One more power here till we can get the roof come down. Very good. Well done. Good. Next, we have Maureen Accord Ongora. There she is. Well done. Yeah. Good. We have Maraka Joyce.
Kaching, kaboom, kaching, kaboom, kaching, kaching.
Well done. Yeah. Last but not least, we have Wangare Njoru. Yes?
Coach.
And ladies and gentlemen,
Well done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think for my part,
Yes. He is just asking about remuneration, and I was just checking whether their accounts are in order. Yes? So, very good. And since I've heard from you guys, let us give them one hearty clap. Thank you. I now hand over to yes, Pauline. She's around. Very good.
I know this has been said before, but with that, the association is formally launched. And like I said earlier, it's an invitation for us to form an association. So you form part of the association. So welcome and thanks. And many apologies for keeping you late. So, thank you. I'll hand over to Anto. I think he's really feel about which I can't.
Okay, basically, she doesn't. Obviously, we want to thank everybody who's been a part of this, especially to everyone from Future Fast, from CCA Free, everyone who made this possible, to the KCID, or as we used to call them KIE. What was English? Please make some noise for English. That's the only event I've ever been to where those people are just amazing. The ladies are the most beautiful people in the world. We call them, as social media, we say Team Melanin. Team Melanin means Melanin ya Mungu ilishika, that's darkness. So, inataka bila kutoa teams, kuna watu wataki hiyo maneno. Any other counties that I need to present, obviously Kiambu County, Kiambu County here. This is a county, Kiambu County, Chota County, Nyeri County, Kirinyaga, Bungoma County, Kakamega, Nakuru County, Kisii County, Nandi County, Baringo County. You know, this is growing up. You guys are for year 85. These things are very simple. I would have just finished the page. It's Valley, Eastern, Northeastern, and this story would have been over. But honestly, let me to say, to thank all of you guys for being here with us today. I think we're going to stand and end with the word of prayer. So we make sure that as we travel, as we go home, and even as we form the associations, and as you continue with the programs, that you really do get the energy that you guys need. So I think we could be all upstanding, so we can end. Because I know that we are represented in different traditions, so I'll say general prayer, and we all understand. We come before your presence, and we thank you for the gift of life. We say thank you for allowing us to be all here today, even as we live and as we continue to give our hearts for charity and to really help those who come after We pray that you may continue to give us the guidance, the strength that we need to keep standing and to keep fighting and to keep moving. May we go back so we may give back. I pray all of this believing and trusting. Amen. Amen. And you may go with peace, my brethren. Go in peace. One more time, please. Let's give a round of applause for everyone who made this possible. Thank you.